Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for checking in and being with us this afternoon. Folks, we got a great show for you. First up, we're going to talk about the latest in Russia. Today is Victory Day in Russia, and we're going to discuss how this whole war is continuing to move forward, where it becomes an indirect war between America and Russia to a direct war. We'll be checking in with Dr. Gerald Horne to give us his analysis of the situation. Also, folks, let's talk a little bit about what's happening with everything that let me just make sure I'm pulling this up correctly. I apologize. Let's talk about the fact that we want to talk about Biden's new connectivity plan, how the president is moving forward on trying to get all of these low-income homes connected. We'll have a discussion about that. Also, we check in with Chef Rock, who discusses Black excellence in the kitchen. We'll be talking to the chef about what he's doing to improve the culture right in culinary. And then later, we discuss the poetry and power of Kendrick Lamar. He dropped his new video yesterday as we prepare for his new debut, his new album on May 13th. We'll discuss it and the impact it will have on hip-hop. So stay with us. All of that and a whole lot more is going to be discussed, all happening today here on The Culture on the Black Star Network. Let's go. Folks, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. It is Monday, May the 9th, and I hope that you had a great Mother's Day weekend. I know I did. And to all of the mothers out there who are still getting gifts, still getting praise, still receiving love, happy Mother's Day. Folks, we got a great show for you today. We're going to first start the conversation with Dr. Gerald Horne, who's going to give us the latest about what's happening in Russia. It is Victory Day in Russia, and they are already proclaiming victory in their war with Ukraine. However, Ukrainian President Mr. Zelensky said that the President Putin, is trying to distort history, that he's trying to rewrite the narrative. So we're going to discuss this and the fact of the implications that of the news that America has been secretly helping the Ukraine with their strategy and tactics, and how that is putting America in a place of where they're trying to, of not being in an indirect war with Russia, but being in a direct war. We're going to be checking in with the professor of race and foreign policy, Dr. Gerald Horne from the University of Houston. We're also joined by our culture crew members for today, B Fly, who is an artist, and she is the founder of Black Sheezers Entertainment, as well as the co-founder of the Blackwater Production House, and my man Jules P., who is a hip-hop artist and activist. Dr. Horne, we'll start with you, then we'll bring our crew in. Dr. Horne, it's always a pleasure to discuss these things with you. Welcome back to the show. How are you this afternoon?
Hey, it's all good. How about you?
I'm good, Doc. I'm good. All right, let's talk a little bit about what is happening right now. The reason I wanted to bring you back onto the show, one, because of your insight, but two, Doc, you know, I was reading a piece from the New York Times over the weekend. And one of the and I found it to be both a fascinating piece, but one of the things that was discussed in this op-ed is the fact that the president is pretty much knows that we're about to head to war with Russia, right? Like, he has that in the back of his mind. And there were two main reasons for this kind of thinking. And this is what New York Times had to say about this situation. Keenan, let's bring up the quote from New York Times article, how they're saying America being drawn into the Ukraine Russian war. It said, first, the New York Times disclosed that the United States has provided intelligence about Russian units that has already that has allowed Ukrainians to target and kill many of the Russian generals who have died in action in the Ukraine war, according to senior American officials. Second, the New York Times, following a report by NBC News and citing U.S. officials, reported that America has provided intelligence that helped Ukrainian forces locate and strike the Moskva, which is the flagship of Russia's Black Sea Fleet. It also said that this targeting assistance contributed to the eventual sinking of the Moskva by 2 Ukrainian cruise missiles. The staggering takeaway from these leaks is that they suggest we are no longer in an indirect war with Russia, but rather are edging toward a direct war, and no one has prepared the American people or Congress for that. I feel like, Doc, we've been kind of saying this, but it's interesting that now the New York Times is saying, hey, this looks like this is going to be a very big problem, especially the part about, the leaks about the intel that the U.S. has been providing Ukraine, and then to not have this conversation with the American people nor with Congress. It's just kind of happening. We know something is happening. We have been, staying updated and posted about it. But then it seems like we're all blind to the fact that it's happening because we happen, that is happening from us. It's like this weird place that we're in, Doc.
It's very serious. These leaks from presumably the Pentagon or the U.S. intelligence agencies or provocation. That is to say, without these leaks, Russia would have to speculate as to the nature of U.S. direct assistance to Ukraine. But now they no longer have to speculate. They know it from the horse's mouth, if you believe the New York Times. And I think in this instance, you probably should. And what it amounts to is a kind of trash talk on the fact that the Pentagon and the U.S. intelligence agencies are not only dunking in Putin's face by supplying all of this assistance to the Ukrainians, but then blabbing it to the New York Times. This is very serious. And I think that if the unforgivable happens, if the unmentionable happens, that is to say, if war does break out between Russia and the United States, as the saying goes, the living will envy the dead, because we're talking about the 2 major nuclear powers on planet Earth. By some measures, Russia has more nuclear missiles than the United States does. That is to say that the United States and or Russia could be destroyed within seconds or minutes. And I think we also should not lose sight of the larger strategic question. Speaking of the mainstream press, pay careful and close attention to an op-ed that appeared in the Wall Street Journal just a few days ago, which was penned by Roger Wicker, the senator from Mississippi, who will be slated to become head of the Senate Armed Services Committee if the Republicans prevail in November. He's suggesting that the United States not only should study carefully how Russia might be getting bogged down in Ukraine, but also should seek to replicate that off the southern coast of China. Speaking of China's rebel province, Taiwan, Mr. Wicker suggests that the United States help to convert Taiwan into a porcupine, that's his term, not mine, so that if China tried to retake this territory, it would get bogged down similarly. So now we have the spectacle of the United States, at least leading officials of the United States, talking seriously, not about one possible nuclear conflict, that is to say with Russia, but 2, with Russia and the People's Republic of China. I think that they're getting ahead of themselves. They need to calm down. They need to take a deep breath and rethink altogether what they're contemplating.
When you said that you think they're getting ahead of themselves, you're saying the Biden administration, or you're talking about the allies of America? Who exactly are you speaking of, Doc?
Well, speaking of the Biden administration, according to the report I read in the New York Times, Mr. Biden was not necessarily happy about these
No,
tweets.
no.
So I'm referring to folks from the U.S. intelligence agencies and the Pentagon. Now, obviously, if the United States is involved in conflicts, as the United States is involved today, that leads to a rise in the Pentagon budget, which means more dollars to spend, more possibilities for corruption, more possibilities for no bid contracts to your brother-in-law and to your allies and comrades. And so this is the underlying impetus, it seems to me, for this belligerent talk coming out of Washington. But we should remind these hotheads that they're playing with fire.
And that's the hard part to try to wrap our minds around. One of the things that is also said in the New York Times in that same op-ed that we just quoted, again, this op-ed is by Mr. Thomas Friedman, but he said that it is doubly dangerous, senior U.S. officials say. It is increasingly obvious to them that Putin's behavior is not as predictable as it has been in the past, and Putin is running out of options for some kind of face-saving success on the ground or even a face-saving off-ramp. So now we're looking at a situation that not only did these leaks happen, the president, of course, is very upset about that, but now we're not really able to determine what Putin's next step is. And even today at his Victory Day celebration in Russia, it's still like, what is he planning to do next? Even though the world is seeing that he's slowly getting backed into a corner, we don't know how he's going to respond. And that's not a good place to be when you have a major superpower with nuclear weapons at their disposal. It's not a good place.
It's not a good place at all. And I took careful note of the fact that the man who penned the article from which you're quoting is Thomas Friedman, who's part of the 1%. He's from one of the more affluent families in the United States of America, which is one of the many reasons why he usually only writes a column on Wednesday. But in this instance, he appeared twice last week. And that second column is the one that you're quoting from. And I inferred from that second column that he was so unnerved by these leaks about the United States helping to kill leading Russian generals by supplying intelligence to the Ukrainians, the United States helping to destroy a major Russian naval vessel, that he was so unnerved by that, he decided to make 2 appearances in the New York Times as opposed to 1. And I think that he was well advised to do so, because it seems to me that the United States and its allies are running out of ammunition, not literally. I'm talking about sanctions.
Right.
They've slapped so many sanctions on Russia, I can't think of any more that they can devise. But all that's serving to do is effectuate a major and profound change in international relations, because Russia, with all of its resources, gold, oil, palladium necessary for catalytic converters that go in automobiles, titanium necessary for superjets, will be turning east, turning towards China, turning towards India. Europe, Western Europe, the European Union plus Britain will thereby be deprived of those sorts of resources. And the latest news that I heard from Russia is that the price of a gallon of gasoline at the pump is about a little more than $2, whereas in Northern California, it's over $6 and heading towards $7. So I'm wondering, what is the effect of these sanctions?
Yeah.
Is it a sort of the United States and its allies sanctioning themselves, plus giving a boost to China, which in turn will help to generate even more belligerence towards China, per that Senator Roger Wicker op-ed that I mentioned in the Wall Street Journal?
I want to bring in our culture crew, B Fly and Jules P. Let me start with you, Jules. What are your thoughts around this situation as it stands right now. And any questions or comments you want to share with Dr. Horn?
And it's like, it might sound rhetorical, it might be a basic question, but why do we feel like we need to be in a type of space or atmosphere of this world where information like that has to be released of us helping out Ukraine? Like, why is that something that's being pressed out to the New York Times? Like, is that like an inside job trying to expose us for helping out the underdog? And then now that's putting us in the fire between Russia and now the US? Like, why is that like an actual thing where we're just jumping in, but now it's like being broadcasted into the world instead of us helping as like a ally, under, you know, like secretly under, as an ally, just helping them out, making sure they're good, where it doesn't have to be broadcasted and we're not boasting about it.
I think it's, as I said before, kind of trash talk. I mean, why do you have to blab your mouth after you dunk in somebody's face? It's not necessary. And obviously, you're trying to be provocative. You're trying to inflame your opponent, which I don't think is necessary. And secondly, I think that there are those in the Pentagon who feel that if it's broadcast that they're providing material assistance to the Ukrainians, then Congress will smile more fondly upon them at budget time, which, as suggested, could then lead to a rise in their budget. Recall that Pentagon Chief Lloyd Austin, before he became head of that sprawling agency, multi-billion-dollar agency, his corporate home was Raytheon, which is one of the major contractors with the Pentagon. You would be well advised, I'm afraid to say, to invest what's in your piggy bank in the stock of Raytheon, because right now they're firing on all cylinders.
Money to be made. Money to be made. B Fly, what's your question or your comment?
Are we spelling Raytheon Raeth or R-A-Y?
R-A-Y.
Y-T-H-E-O-N. All righty, I am here. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Horn.
So does that mean you're about to invest?
Listen, I have a piggy bank. And so you said my keywords, and so I'm looking at them right now. This is very interesting. I might be able to take my little weekly allowance and see how we can make that flip in the market. You know, I like that. I like that. I like that.
B, B, let me ask you, outside of your investment strategies from your insider trade, your inside trader, Dr. Horn.
Listen,
what's your biggest concern about this fact that one, this news about the leak of America helping Ukraine in this whole process, taking down Russian generals, taking down one of Russia's top ships? I mean, this is not an indirect war at this point, or is it? Or are we lining ourselves up to be in direct conflict with Russia in 2022?
I mean, I don't think it was necessarily a leak. I think they came to do exactly what they're doing. And so, you know, what is war? War isn't a conversation. Once you start once you pull out the military, we're shooting. And so so they're taking out generals. And it's not I don't think this information is leaked. I think this is what news is. You know, this is updating the people literally on the casualties of war. And so in this dynamic, they're setting it up, I think, for a media spun American win, you know? And so that's what we're looking at. And what is it that we want? Do we want it? It's there. We're happening. And we don't have a say so in the war. But do we want to be on a losing team? I don't think so.
No.
We want so I just want to be able to, go where the winners go and invest where the winners invest.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, I agree with you there, but I don't know if America is on that side at this moment. But my question, Dr. Horn, is listening to B, what's the impact that this knowledge about this leak and how involved we really are, what impact do you see it on the American people and in presenting this case to the American people and Congress, since we seem to be so far along? This is not at the beginning. We're like a quarter of the way in, I see. So how do you, as President Biden, how do you make it, kind of state the case? How do you defend your actions?
I think Mr. Biden should tread very carefully. I think that's one of the reasons why he reportedly rebuked the Pentagon and the intelligence agents who leaked this damaging information to the press. I've already begun to receive a flurry of emails discussing seriously the possibility of a debate in the US Congress with regard to the propriety of this war, because the Constitution demands that if the United States goes to war, that Congress should be the force that authorizes that conflict. But we have only seen Congress give thumbs up to ever increasing amounts that Mr. Biden demands, without the threshold question of whether the United States should be involved in a conflict in the first place ever being debated. And secondly, I've been receiving a flurry of emails about the possibility that if Mr. Biden takes one or two steps further towards dragging the United States into a war, that there be an impeachment resolution filed. Now, keep in mind that there is a segment of opinion in the Republican Party that is not necessarily in favor of this conflict. They're looking for every possibility to destabilize the Biden regime. He may be handing them their most potent weapon, which is that he may be accused credibly of dragging the United States into a nuclear war, which up until this point was seen as inconceivable.
My God. Davey checked in on our YouTube page, said, when America wins, Black folks lose. Thank you, Davey.
Let's invest in Raytheon, Davey.
Sports asks, Farajii, do you believe that this issue is a hot button for your viewers? It should be. It should be. If you've been listening to Dr. Horn every time, and he's been the only one, because I don't need a whole bunch of voices on this. I'm trying to drive this point home. You're damn right it should be a hot button issue. We should be keeping our eyes on it. Yes, we can talk about the domestic stuff. We can talk about the cultural stuff. But we have to really talk about the fact that we may be, and I'm saying maybe, folks, there's still ways that we cannot go this far, but we may be going into a war with another superpower. This ain't a small country. This ain't, it's not a rinky-dink situation. This is Russia under Vladimir Putin in 2022. This is a whole different ball game. So is this a hot button issue, sports? Absolutely. If it ain't a hot button issue, I don't care. Because guess what? This issue is so important to me that guess what? Now, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I would not be doing my due diligence, and we would not be doing our due diligence as Black media if we're not talking about the possibility of America going to war with Russia. We would not be doing our due diligence. We would actually be reneging our duty, Doc and Jules and B, because we're not talking about this enough. If nothing else, we're keeping people updated. We're keeping people informed. If nothing else. But and I'm going back to Davey, when America wins, Black folks lose. So if we're not talking about this, if this is not on our radar, if we just thinking, oh man, it's warm, getting warmer outside, I can't wait till the summer season. Oh my gosh, man, we're going on vacations, and if I haven't learned anything from COVID-19 when it first started, nothing is the same anymore. Traditions are slowly fading away, and the time for us to have uncomfortable conversation is over. this country is going through such what they call a seismic shift, Doc, in everything from culture to politics to education. We're going through such a transformative period that we can't just act like nothing, like this stuff is not important. That's over there and it's over here. I refuse to put that out there on this show. And I know that under Brother Roland Martin, we would be remiss in our duty if we did not have conversation like this all the time to let people know how serious this really is. That's all I'm gonna say. But sports, I love the question. I'm glad that you brought that up because some people may feel that way. Why do you keep talking about it? Because it's Russia with nuclear powers. And if we do go to war, boots on the ground, who do you think they're going to call? I'll wait. Oh, black people. Brown folk. Poor whites. Marginalized communities.
And this is why we can't have abortions anymore, because we got to get more bodies so we can go into war.
That's all I'm gonna say. I ain't gonna say nothing more than that because you going. I know you about to ramp it up. You're gonna ramp it up. Dr. Gerald Horne, professor of history and African American studies, and he's the recipient of the Moores professorship from the University of Houston. Doc, you know, like I said, we might just have to have you on just weekly. I've been reaching out to you every week because it seems like something else is new. But I'm not trying to make light of it. I'm just saying that this is a very, very serious situation that we're in, and it's moving so fast that we have to bring people up to speed. Dr. Horne, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's talk about President Biden's connectivity plan and getting low-income households connected to the internet. I'm going to break down the plan for you. We're going to discuss it with our culture crew members, and then we're going to see, are there some pros and cons to this plan? We'll have that conversation. So stay with us. The second 30 of the culture is going to be coming right at you here on the Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punching!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on there.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share
who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared. You dig?
All right, folks, if you've been enjoying all of the great programming that we've been having here on the Black Star Network, it is because of one thing. You are connected. And it is this issue of connectivity that continues to be a stumbling block for many people in this country, especially poor and low income marginalized communities. And so President Biden and his administration has decided to do something about this situation by having a connectivity plan, as it was a part of that major $1 trillion infrastructure bill that was passed by Congress last year. 20 telecommunications companies, folks, have decided to participate in this special program that would provide broadband services to homes all across the country. AT&T, Comcast, Verizon, and 17 other providers will offer discounts under the plan, according to the reports, where households would only have to pay, check this out, folks, $30 a month for internet services, broadband and internet services. $30 a month. I want to bring in my culture crew, B-Fly, Jules P, into this conversation as we have it. And this plan here, Jules and B, would impact 48 million households. 48 million households will be able to get connected as a result of this plan. Now, I'm wondering, and this is not a bad idea. I think that households need to be connected. I mean, if a lot of people are already connected, we have cell phones, we got computers. Some people still don't have, I don't think a lot of folks have home phones anymore. You know what I mean? I mean, Wi-Fi should not be limited to how much money you make or the area that you live in. It should just be a national thing, right? I mean, this is just, I feel like this is a good idea, but it's long overdue. And I might be wrong on this, Jules, but I just feel like this had to be done. Unfortunately, it probably should have been done before the pandemic, because a lot of people were hit hard as a result of internet connectivity. A lot of families, trying to, do work from home, school from home, that whole situation. So I'm not too bad, too really upset, because, I'd rather been done later rather than not at all. But this sounds like this could be a winning strategy to get people connected. What's your take on it?
So I definitely feel that this is something that was going to happen eventually, but also agree with the same sense that it was going to take its time to happen. And the reason I say that is because when you think about cable companies, Comcast, and Verizon, Fios, people really don't have cable like that anymore. So they had to find a way to get money. So that's like, that's the whole premise of the world we live in, is I got to get paid. If I get screwed in one aspect, I got to find a way to make up for it in another aspect on how to get my revenue and my profits for my company. So once they realized that, the dwindling cable packages were being, it was like, well, let's raise the price of internet. I'm speaking from experience. I probably haven't paid for cable in about 4 or 5 years. I've only paid for Wi-Fi internet services. And my Wi-Fi internet services are pretty much almost the same price as my cable packages that included cable, internet, and phone.
Damn.
And that's how they're making their money, because they realize, hey, let's capitalize on people need internet. So I'm kind of glad that they are establishing this plan for low-income households. But I feel like it shouldn't just be low-income households. I feel like that should just be countrywide, because again, if you are telling us basically you're converting us to a world where we need an internet and Wi-Fi for everything, why make it such a thing like a Louis Vuitton bag or something of high value that has to be priced at a high price point, when it should be something general that everybody can say, hey, We're just paying this flat $30 a month, and we all have access and connectivity to everything going on across the world and domestically as well.
Here's my thing too, B. And to Jules' point, I mean, one, I hate the fact that we are living in modern 2022, and we haven't, for lack of a better word, nationalized certain resources and services for this country. You know, when you go, I was reading about Canada, and they still got free healthcare. You go into other countries, they got free education, right? Whether it's, you know, primary, secondary, or collegiate education. I mean, America seems like we're like always kind of like falling behind, even though we claim we're number one in a lot of things, but it just seems like we always are the last ones to do the most civilized and the most reasonable thing. And I might be wrong in my assessment of that, but I mean, every household should have internet. Now, is it possible? Because I do know that there are parts of this country, rural parts of this country, hell, even urban parts of this country, where, you know, you have these towers and the signals get crossed and they can't connect and everything. Like literally in my neighborhood, I can't even get Verizon. But like across the street, you can get it. You know what I mean? And I think that's probably the situation that we find a lot of people in. But I feel like this is a situation where, I mean, it's long overdue, but just nationalize certain things. Just stop trying to profit off of people for every damn thing. Like we don't have enough to already think about. Now I'm glad that the Biden administration is doing this, but it's like, it just sheds a light on the greed of companies, telecommunications, insurance, all these corporate America, and always want to put something on the American people. What's your take?
I mean, this is the foundation of capitalism, you know, and so it's like our rising prices are a response to supply and demand, and you know, we're not socialists, so we can't continue to judge Babylon for being Babylon. We can't continue to, you know, to expect it to be anything else than what it is, right? So in this situation, we have the government trying to subsidize Wi-Fi and the internet for a demographic of people who are still unable to consistently afford internet because of capitalism and because it is not regulated. It seems like the most mindful thing to do would be to start regulating the internet, to start regulating Wi-Fi and the way companies are able to price gouge, because that's really what's happening. You know, it's price gouging that is going on, and the government keeps on adding on its pieces on your bill, you know? So it's six in one hand, half a dozen in the other. I am concerned about what happens when my government starts to subsidize. When my government subsidizes, my government also listens in. And so this right here is a part of what would be concerning me, you know? And so when we come to more monitoring of the disenfranchised, you know, like that is a pervasive problem within our community, you know? And so, and it's this process that we have with capitalism that keeps the hand out. It's this nonprofit connection with capitalism that keeps looking for the hand to feed into, you know? And so it's wild, but at the end of the day, the people need internet. Like the people, that's a baseline, the same way water is a baseline.
Yeah.
We're not, you know what I'm, and so in the
like you shouldn't have to pay for that though.
But you should have to pay for it. You should
every
be
time,
able,
all the time.
You should listen. I
get it. Yes,
socialists.
look, I get it.
We're not
you should.
like You know what I'm saying? It takes, these are jobs. This is
I get it.
equipment. These are
I get it.
refineries.
I get it,
you
B.
know?
I do.
We have to be able to pay to play, you know, but there needs to be some sort of real mindful regulation that allows the capitalists to hit a threshold. You know what I'm saying? Like, you should not be able to make 1000% profit off of something that is a basic need for humanity. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where the issue comes in, and one doesn't have to be socialist in order to practice mindful business. But this is what happens when you don't have enough women at the table, Farajii, you know? And so it's like, this is what it is. So these wars have to happen in order, you know what I'm saying, to further collapse the system that cannot be repaired until there's a full changing of the guards. And
so no, I agree with that. I agree with that. But you're saying that the concern about the government tapping in, which I think is a very real concern too.
Yes, it's a historic concern.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm not taking anything away from that, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that's a very big point, but it's so unfortunate that could be that it's unfortunate that's a valid point, and here's why. Because it's coming from the government.
Because it's coming from the government.
And guess what?
Like, listen,
we don't trust the government.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say, let's get to that point.
This is real.
We don't trust. So anything that comes from the government, we always look at it with the side eye, like,
what's the
come on? Do you know how easy it is to get put in Facebook jail? It is so easy to get put in. My account is forever restricted. Okay. As soon as the government wants to monitor the full internetage of the world, imagine how many people are going, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, like, these social media experiments are letting us know what happens when there is a man in charge of your internet. You know what I'm saying? He will literally, you know what I'm saying, like, cut you off regardless of who you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, Twitter literally cut off the president while the president was presidenting and said, no, you are no longer social networking on our platform. You know what I'm, and so it's like, imagine the level of the government. The government is watching all of this. The government is doing this after they've taken Facebook through Congress for years. So now they have a deeper understanding of how to actually monitor us, you know? And so that's the part that is scary. I don't trust the elder phones that they circulate in the hood, and I'm not going to trust government Wi-Fi.
What they call it? So back, you talking about the phone, like they call it the Obama phone, the Trump phone, anything. Now it's probably called the Biden phone or something. The Biden cell. But the fact is, Jules, you know, you do have a very real need. 48 million households would be impacted. 48 million households will become connected. And here's why I think that this is leading. This might be a sign of something. To B's point, it might be a sign of greater scrutiny and phone tapping and surveillance. You know what I mean? Some level of capital surveillance. But then I think on the other side, there is the shift between, well, we're going into a shift of working in the office to working from home, right? So the remote job is becoming more and more popular. And so, and even remote schooling, even though there are some evidence to show that remote schooling has a negative impact on some children, but we're kind of like trying to do a hybrid thing, and it's all keeping us in the home. It's all keeping us in the home where we don't have to venture out too much. It's all keeping us online where we don't have to engage with people too much, right?
Point I was about to make. Mm-hmm.
So it's like there is, and I never forget when I read, when I read books in reports about technology, to always keep us on our phones, to always keep us in front of a screen, like our attention is constantly being demanded.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm wondering, should folks have a choice, even if you're on low income? Should you just be like, hey, you know what? And I'm sure you will have a choice, but that's a hard choice to make, whether you want to connect your household to the rest of the world, or do you want to kind of live in isolation? And that's a hard choice to make in 2022, Jules.
Yeah, but let's be 100% honest. We don't live in isolation. Everything we do is controlled by somebody else. We're already being told what to do. It's just like broadcasted, if that makes sense. So, like how she gave the example of Facebook, that's the reason why I don't even say nothing. I use shows like this to share my opinion and thoughts, but I don't do it on social media because there's still this threshold, there's this cap of how much you can go into tell what you want to say, even if it's your own personal view. So it's like we already have that cap of what we can and cannot say. So I feel like that's like not even, I don't even look at that as like an actual thing anymore. Because like, all right, well, if I didn't create it, then I'm always following somebody else's rules. So I got to do what they say and play by their rules anyway. So to take it to the social point, I'll take it on 2 points. One, the social point. Yeah, I do agree that us keeping us more in the house, keeping us always with a screen in our face, that's taken away from the face-to-face conversation. That's taking us away from social skills, because that's why a lot of people don't know how to talk to people, don't know how to talk in public, can't enunciate, can't speak properly, can't count. I mean, it's just so many things that you're not learning because you're thinking that a screen is going to teach you everything there is in life to provide, when I'm not going to sound like an old guy, but like my generation, I learned from human interaction. I learned from human contact.
You're sounding old, Jules. You're sounding old, sir.
I mean, I'm just like, that's just how I learned. And it's like, so now I didn't depend on the internet. Now, granted, Google is a great source, but there's always still, I tell people, fact checking. You don't go straight to Google and give an opinion, because if you go and you get a paper cut and you go on Google and say, what do I do about a cut on my hand and I'm bleeding? Google's going to try to kill you. It's going to say, you're going to the hospital, you're going to get all these types of diseases. Like, it doesn't have the mindset of saying, hey, it's just a minor paper cut. It's not that serious. They're going to go immediately to all the things you're going to expose to. You got to wear a mask. I guess it's going to go to a whole nother a realm of things. And it's like, so, you got to have also the conscious mind of interaction. Like say, hey, let me decipher what is and what isn't true. Let me also do my research and not go with just the first thing. Because the thing about America is everybody wants to be first, not right. Everybody always wants to be the first to say something, but doesn't do the research to say anything, to say, hey, let me back up and justify this point of what I'm speaking on. And then for the parents or guardians or grown folks or whoever is in your life, there also needs to be a cap established for how much time you're spending with these devices and social media and Wi-Fi also, because you kind of sort of have to still monitor the breakdown of doing both. Yes, we need the internet, but we don't need the internet 24/7. You have to.
Wait a minute, but here's the thing though, Jules. Like who would determine the cap? Would it be government? Would it be the internet companies, the tech companies? Like who would determine the cap? Because guess what? On the other side of that, nobody forces us to be on social media as much as we are,
right?
Or to be online as much as we do. Nobody forces that. I mean, even though
we are manipulated, though. You know what I'm saying? We're not forced, but we are strategically manipulated psychologically in order to get addicted to this process, and so it is necessary for every household, for every person to develop a system of checks and balance when it comes to utilizing all sorts of technology. That starts with the self, that starts with the self. And the danger of the government coming in to supply internet or to subsidize internet is that the government is able to create such monitoring systems when the people end up running around ungoverned. And that's the issue that we often have within society. You can have a household that totally puts their child to bed on time, does all the mindful things, you drink more water than juice, but you can still be on a block that's running wild. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like without a particular level of self critique and monitoring, it's gonna be it's impossible for a next generation who only knows digital, who only knows 5G world, to decipher when am I supposed to put my device down versus when am I supposed to pick up a crayon, and that takes the other generations who have been exposed to life pre this, in order to actually instill like that balance. But Farajii, most of us like spend so much time just addicted to the process of interneting within social media. It has become a new playing field of capitalists.
Oh, I know that. And we've talked about that in our private conversations, B, and certainly we've talked about this on this public platform. But it still goes back to like us being very intentional and conscious about making that decision to use all of our time, or to use so much of our time, to sacrifice so much of our time being online. You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing, when we do this show, for a couple of hours, but then, behind the scenes, you're online seeing what people are talking about, seeing what's happening in the world and all of those things. Like, we spend so much time in that space, on the internet space, that, you want to make sure that you walk away, that you turn off, that you power down in some way, shape, or form. And that's, I don't know how we're going to teach people to be responsible with technology, responsible with the use of time on technology, responsible with the content that they consume, technologically. Like, I don't know how that can happen unless you want it to happen. People have to want those things to happen. I think that it's a good idea to keep people connected, but because it's from the government, it's hard to believe and trust. Because it's from the government, you don't know what nefarious means the government will use that data. There was, we don't have time to get into it today, but I remember when a lot of these companies, Verizon, AT&T, a lot of these big telecommunications companies, they did not want to work with the government at one point when the government had national security issues, or when there were issues. I don't know if y'all remember that, but they would be very like, no, the government cannot have access to data. And there are still cases that are pending where the government is fighting some telecommunications companies about having access to data for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, isn't that
we're just in a very
imploded MCI WorldCom?
Say it again.
Isn't that a part of what imploded MCI WorldCom? Like, remember that fiasco?
Yeah.
So I'm sorry to interrupt.
No. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. So I mean, when we're talking about it, it's like we want technology, we want to be connected, we want to be we want to be quote unquote, tech savvy and tech evolved, but there's a price to pay, and it ain't $30. I mean, and then we don't have enough time on it. If low-income households can get all of this, like and we need to see the devil's in the details, the old saying goes. $30 when we are paying well over that. Well over that. Like some of us are cutting down on or like Jules is like, yo, do I really need cable? Or I just need Wi-Fi. You know what I'm saying? Like I could just watch this stuff from my computer, or I could just watch this stuff from my phone. Do I need a television?
Do I need a TV?
Do I need a TV right now, or do I could just use this on my phone? Like we're making those like. So when you're talking about $30, it's also like you're asking, well, what are we paying for? if you can get this plan for $30, and I'm glad they can do it. Going back to your point, B, it's like this is a racket.
And so if the government's going to roll out $30 internet the way I know the government, the way I know this government, that $30 internet going to be slow. That $30 internet ain't going to give you the full www. That $30 internet going
it's
to
going to be
censored.
www.
Listen, that
and it could just be worldwide, not even the web.
You're going to have crazy pop-ups from the healthcare connection. Every time a president like chimes in on ABC, your whole internet is just gonna get hijacked by the White House, regardless of what that, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's I really don't, I don't trust the government and $30 internet for a lot of different reasons, and I hope non-government $30 internet still exists after. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what it is, because when it comes to how the government treats the poor and the disenfranchised, like you literally run from that care. You know what I'm saying? Like that is not care that you strive for. You know what I'm saying? Like the government literally, like they're the ones that invented the preschool to prison pipeline. So like how does the flowing of the internet work with that? That's the part.
That's going to be the big part, folks. If you want to get more information, they actually set up a website called getinternet.gov. So this is a government program, government oriented, government information, getinternet.gov, to determine your eligibility and to sign up for the program. And then those who receive the benefits, such as the Pell Grant, Medicaid, or SNAP, may qualify. So if you get Pell Grant, Medicaid, or SNAP, you qualify. But according to the census data, check this out, B and Jules, as of 2018, 85% of American households had access to broadband internet, with lower rates generally being lower in rural communities. So we will have to see. I'm not completely opposed to it, but to the points that we made today, we believe that there might be some hiccups in it. But I think everybody should get connected. But if you connect people, then there has to be some conversation, some education about being responsible with technology, internet, and all of that stuff. But hopefully, low income, those rural communities will be able to get connected and then be brought up to speed on what's happening in the modern world. My goodness. All right, look, we got to take a quick pause.
Fundraiser.
Would you say, B?
It's a serious fundraiser.
Serious fundraiser. Serious.
Imagine the money that the government is about to make, $30 a month for low income internet. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a serious fundraiser right there. Imagine what that same community would do if they put that money into like their own school.
Yeah.
But listen, all right, go ahead.
All right, look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's switch gears. Let's talk about Black excellence in the kitchen. We're going to be joined by Chef Rock to talk about what Black chefs like himself and others are doing to create more diversity in the kitchen, and why it's important for us to highlight and to celebrate Black cuisine. We'll have that conversation up next. And then later, we'll discuss Kendrick Lamar. His new album drops in a couple of days. He's already put out a video for it, for his first single, and the internet is talking. And so will Jules. Jules got something to say about that. So stay with us. All of that is happening in the second hour of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Be right back.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture right here on the Black Star Network, the second hour of today's show. Just been having a great show. And we want to talk a little bit about Black excellence in the kitchen. Now, you and I, we may know a couple of chefs or a couple of folks that are doing cuisine and culinary work professionally. But do you know that there's still a great disparity of black men and black women in the kitchen? And so there's an effort to try to change that as Black chefs are making it their job to push and call for diversity in the kitchen, especially in the culinary arts. Here to give us a little bit more insight about not just that work, but about the work he is doing is Chef Rock Harper. And Chef Rock is going to talk to us a little bit about just some of the things that he's seeing in the kitchen and why it's important to celebrate Black cuisine. Chef Rock, thank you so much for joining us. How are you, dear brother?
Good to see you, brother Farajii. I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. Did you cook anything today?
I cooked a little bit, man. I actually I had some crab cakes for breakfast. It's a little uncharacteristic, but I was feeling a little swaggy.
That sounds like a swaggy breakfast for a Monday.
You know, I just it was a rough weekend, bro. I'm telling you, I didn't get
I was gonna ask, hey Chef, like what now for Mother's Day,
yes.
Did you go all out for the weekend?
We went way out. Queen Mother's is my restaurant, and we focus on fried chicken. And we actually was a part of my dear brother Priest the Nomad, who's a rapper, released a video called "My Way Home," and he used myself and my mom in the restaurant as a backdrop, as a visual to support it. It was pretty dope. And so we did the fried chicken box with buttermilk biscuits and deviled eggs and a couple other goodies, some salted caramel chocolate chips and some potato salad. So we just wanted to take the pressure off of anyone that normally, cooks the food for mom. And so many families, so many people came through, and it was a beautiful thing, but it was pretty rough.
All right, so let's talk about your journey in the kitchen, because I think you have a great story to highlight. Let's talk about that, but then let's also talk about, Chef, there is still a disparity of having, Black representation in the kitchen. There's only a small number of Black chefs in the country still.
Yeah.
And it still seems to be, it's just one of the finer arts that a lot of people aren't exposed to, I guess. A lot of young people aren't exposed to. But let's start with your journey. How did you get to become a chef? What was the inspiration for that journey?
I have a journey. I first wanted to be a comedian a long time ago. I grew up.
Are you serious?
I did, brother. And look, I might break into the stage any day now.
Wait a minute, you cooking and telling jokes?
Well, I might. That might be the show right there.
Are you married? Because I mean, that's a shoe in. You cooking and telling jokes, a sister.
Right. That's something we need to pitch right there. But I used to love telling jokes and watching great comedians. So I love people. I love entertainment, And when I was in 8th grade, I took a home ec class, and that was my first foray into like food and had this lovely woman. Her name was Mrs. Hill. Shouts to Mrs. Hill. And we made a lasagna. And that was sort of the first moment I realized that was fancy to me at the time, that I could make something. And actually, my mother told me later that people would pay me to make it. I found out it was a career. Ever since that moment, that sort of spurred my chef journey. And I went on to school, and I just loved it. Just watching my mother and my grandmother entertain through food. That really, food it's everywhere, so it can change an event. Like you see it, it can change. You can influence moods, and it really supports what's going on. It's a wedding or a funeral. It doesn't really matter. The food has to be there. And if it's good, it's going to change everything. So I really love the people aspect of the culinary art.
So it sounds like it's about changing the mood, bringing people together, and it really, I mean, there has to be a love there, because I truly believe in this old idea that if you cooking my food, you better like me at least, because I'm gonna be able to taste it.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to love it. To be in this business, you have to love it.
Yeah.
It is not an easy business. It's not for the weak, if I can say that. And but you do have to. I'm a curious person as well. So when I say I love people, I'm curious about the herbs, like the farmer that grew the herbs, or where they came. I'm curious about the driver that brought them to me, and also what they can do. What was their intention when the seed was planted? And what they can do in the food, and what you need, right? Depending upon when customers come into the restaurant and they ask, well, what's good here? Well, that depends on what you're looking for, and that depends on what you need in this moment. So all of those aspects, from the chef, from the whoever we got the product from, to the customer that we're serving, those are all people, and the food is just an opportunity for me to connect with those people. So that's the way I look at my craft. I don't know if that's the way my grandmother did it, or that's my mother does it, but that's, I just love people, and we're all connected, and I can't do it without them. None of those people, none of this dish can't make it here without those people I just laid out. So that's what's really important to me, is finding out how I can, build up community, love on folks, and serve smiles through the food.
I want to bring back my culture crew, Jules B Fly, as we talk to Chef Rock Harper. Chef Rock is an entrepreneur. He's a great talent in the kitchen, and he's doing his part to diversify the kitchen as well. Hey, Chef, talk to us a little bit about, brother, why. Looking at, we showing you a couple of photos, just a little bit of the photos.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at that, Chef.
That's my man,
smiling.
Chef.
Look at that
right there. That's right.
What's that, Chef?
That's the world famous duck fat fried chicken sandwich.
What's it called?
Duck fat fried chicken sandwich.
Duck fat fried chicken sandwich.
Yes. So Queen Mother's is we're a fried chicken sandwich place, and those are the tenders that you see right there. It's crispy. It's a little bit of influence from my grandmother to my mother, but I put my little chef touches on it, on a fresh brioche bun, what I call mother sauce, some pickles, and just a lot of love. Hey
man, that looks too good right now. I'm trying to forget about this interview and just move forward with the food.
Listen, I worked there, and I'm drooling right now. Right? That's how I know it's good. I ain't fronting. I'm sitting here getting like, man, I should have eaten something before I came on this interview.
Man, you had crabs this morning, Chef, so you should be good. But talk to us a little bit. Why aren't we seeing more black faces in the kitchen?
I asked the same question to someone who is a respected, what I call her a scholar in this industry, and she hit me with an answer that kind of surprised me, because I think that we as Black people got away from this industry over the past generation or two. She seems to think that we're in it and maybe doing it a bit differently. So I think that the answer to that is nuanced, but from those two perspectives, a little bit of both. I think that when, we are an ever evolving and smart people, right? And restaurant work, right? So-called servant work, there's a stigma attached to that, right? When you're serving people, the service industry, right? When I mean servant, like I am a servant of the people. So that's when you're a hospitality business, that's your role, is to serve others. And with us, I believe that one of the pieces that over the past couple of generations is that to be a servant has maybe been tied to something that, you know, a couple hundred years ago, right? Tied to being enslaved, or something that we did when we couldn't do other things, when we couldn't in the corporate space. So I think that maybe has helped usher us out and into other industries. And with that, you don't get paid a lot of money in this business, right? Entry level. It's not like you go to culinary school and you get these fabulous degrees and you come out making six figures or close to it, or your trajectory is that you'll be making six figures and it's not like medical school or some of these other engineering schools. It's not like that. You spend a lot of money on education, and you don't make a lot of money. You make a minimum wage job, and hopefully, if you're good enough, you can make a lot of money eventually. But right now, not. And so that combined with, I think that it's just the pay, and also when we talk about like farming, those sorts of things that were like old school, we don't want to do that anymore. We really forgot the importance of being cornerstones in our community, expressing ourselves through food. But I think it's to my sister's point, who told me this, I think it's coming back in a different sort of way. We're expressing ourselves as entrepreneurs. So we might not be in other people's restaurants, but I think that Black people are really expressing themselves to their own entrepreneurial efforts.
I definitely will. And Chef, my man, Brother King Lee, is checking in online. He was like, "Where's your restaurant at?" Because I know people are going to want to check you out. But you can go ahead and get that information. We'll once again put it out there again at the end of the conversation. But where are you located?
Appreciate that, Brother King Lee. We are in Arlington, Virginia. It's Queen Mother's Restaurant. The website is queenmothercooks.com in Arlington, Virginia.
There it is. Hey, Jules and B, what do you think about the fact that and then I'm start with you, B. This is another art, right? Like this is not. Some people tend to not even consider to be culinary work to be artist work, but I beg to differ on this, B. I think being a chef, being in the kitchen, you got to be an artist. There's an art form to it. I mean, yes, you are taught, you are trained like any other artist, but then that creativity, that inspiration, all of that plays into the kitchen. And I'm going to ask the same question that I asked Chef. I mean, how do we get the next generation to get excited about being in the kitchen? I mean, we all eat, so it's not like, you're going to be out of work.
I think there's several overlaying components here, because in the home place there's this stigma about only women being in the kitchen, right, and waiting for the more feminine energy to prepare your meal. But then in the work environment, right, there are more, the patriarchy is more so accepted when it comes to the culinary arts. All right. So men are paid more to cook professionally, whereas women are still in that domestic realm at home trying to figure it out. So to what Chef is saying, there are several Black levels of evolution that kind of take us out of our basic needs, So it's like, because we are now, quote unquote, integrated into society and able to use the fuller facets of our minds, we don't necessarily use our hands, and we frown upon using our hands, But what we learned in COVID is when you actually participate in growing seeds, and when you actually take those seeds and turn them into fruits and vegetables, and there's this marriage that you're able to have with your food, which brings us back to our grandmothers and our grandfathers and the way they participated with food when they didn't have other options, And so it's in our advancement, we lose certain core skills because now we have the money contract that out. Now we have the money to order drive-in and cook faster meals because we would rather be exhausting our minds than our bodies. And as a result, we have high blood pressure and dying of heart disease and diabetes, and I can go on with the foodborne illnesses, that can be curbed if we actually go back into the kitchen on a professional level, and so the academia world has done something to the industry, to the culinary arts, that has made it to where it's something to you don't fantasize about it while you are Black and figuring your life out. You know what I'm saying? Your parents aren't encouraging you to go and cook for someone, because cooking for Black people in the world is a trauma response. Like what we navigate emotionally when it comes to serving in America, like Chef was talking about, it's a trauma response because we still haven't been repaired, we still haven't been acknowledged, and we still haven't even been thanked for our service continually, So it's a mess. It's a lot of layers.
I see that. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
But at the end of the day, we cook and we still do and we handle it the same way a dope boy would. We're hand to hand. So I know plenty of Black chefs that don't have an actual license, but feed the community every day on a regular basis and make that bread. Do they pay their taxes? Are they upstanding citizens with their businesses? Possibly not. And so as a result, they don't get counted. We don't get counted for Chef, a lot of the work we do.
Chef B is bringing up a lot of great points. Can you speak to that? Can you speak to the fact that men, the disparity of pay? Can you speak to the fact that, we know that for our people, service has been ingrained in us because of our history and our condition.
Yeah.
And that some people may run from that because of that history. Can you speak to those things?
I almost jumped out of my seat when you were, but I got to stay in my spot so the producers don't yell at me. But you were preaching this. Listen, a couple of things. If you look at the magazines and the awards and who gets the restaurants 2 years out of culinary school, it's white guys, right? It's white guys with tattoos, or maybe not, right? And this is typical of America, that the pay disparity, especially for Black women in kitchens, is no different than what we see across the country in other industries. There's a, and it's not equal to skill or access to even after education, right? So that's a deterring fact. That's a deterrent, right? That's going to turn somebody away. If I've been doing this for 15 years, and I see a rookie come up who's less talented than I. Get a $2 or $3 million restaurant. So I think that she's onto something there. What I want to point out is that when we look at our ancestors, when we look at our elders, when we just look at our culture, one of the things that I believe we always have to ask ourselves, right, is how does this help us? How does this free us? How does this connect to our history? So what was Mr. Johnson doing or Mr. Harris doing with the cafe on the corner in the neighborhood 70 years ago? Was he trying to be on, were they trying to be on the cover of somebody's magazine or, on someone's TV show? There's nothing wrong with that. But cornerstones of the communities, they had to purchase that product from the local farmer, usually, right? They had to serve their people that couldn't get served anywhere else. Sometimes they made loans, they gave jobs, they employed people. It was a community. Right? We had these bouncing communities, and the food was a part of it. Everybody's not going to be a chef. So even to the bro, you might know that's hustling plates out of his kitchen. Make your money, but don't let an industry stop you from expressing yourself creatively and understand what sustained us and what got us here. At Queen Mother's, we're trying to build community. Yes, I think I have the best chicken sandwich, and yes, people have written, and I'm so grateful that the press comes in my restaurant and writes about it. I'm grateful for all of that. But the highest thing for us, for me, is building community and pushing out, being honoring culture and serving smiles. That's the highest thing. So once we center that, and whatever that is, I'm not saying it needs to be the same thing for all Black people in the kitchen, but once you try to enter in a system that wants to remold and just absorb you and make you look like a certain way, once you try to enter that system, you're not going to sort of liberate yourself within that system. It's designed to do a certain thing. And that's fine. That is what it is. But what I want to encourage all Black people that get into kitchens or restaurants or food is to do you, to figure out a way, like the brother you mentioned, to figure out a way how to do you, and pay. I know he might not be paying, but pay your taxes too. Get an LLC, all that shit. And you know.
Oops. Did I say that?
I understand what he's doing. You gotta do what you gotta do, but eventually pay them people. They coming for you.
Legitimize yourself. And you know what? And I'm glad that you mentioned B and Chef. I'm both glad that you mentioned it, because that's how Black folks work. We've been working under like this underground economy for so long that even when we become professional, we still go back to the underground, which is like mentally conditioned. Like, you got a whole chef, you've been taught and trained and exposed to people. Then you're like, yeah, man, I just saw my dinners from the back of my trunk. And it's like, bruh, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah,
all right, Jules, what's your question and your thoughts for Chef Harper?
Just a couple thoughts. One, I don't even eat fried foods, but those pictures, I will definitely come down and give it a try. I'm not even saying front. Like, I kind of got a little more. I mean, maybe because I'm hungry, they look good like that. Those dishes look good. I mean, I'm gonna come down definitely for sure. Take that ride down. But also just to focus on something that you stated when you were talking earlier. One, I always relate chefs as an art, and I relate art the same way I do music. It's a creative, so it's a passion for it. So it's like, what do I feel like I would want to do that I wouldn't mind if I didn't get paid for, but I'm not passionate about doing it? That's what I take into my art, about creating music or writing music. So I feel like the same thing with chefs. I feel like that's also the same thing in the Black community when it comes to eating. We love food. We have to eat. A lot of times I can look at a base of a recipe, but I tie my own creativity into it because I'm such a picky eater. I can't put everything that they want inside each of these ingredients and recipes inside my actual dish. I have to take a lot of things out and substitute, so that gives you my creativity. So the one thing that I want to say based off what you were talking about earlier is when you're doing that with your restaurant, which I'm hearing, it's like you said something that stuck out to me, is creating that relationship. I hate when I go into restaurants when it's just the business, when it's just you walk in, you get seated, you get served, and then that's it. I love the restaurants that create an atmosphere where you feel like family. How you're talking about 70 years ago when they started those businesses, when the Uncle Charles and all them was on the corner, Mr. Harris were having that restaurant, you felt like family. They brought you in as a guest. You felt like family. They treated you good. I only get that from Black restaurants. I don't get it from chain restaurants. You get friendly things when you go out, like when I travel to like Vegas. I mean, you get a lot of friendly people and things like that work in those places. But I'm talking about that homegrown feeling I only get from Black restaurants. And that's what I want to commend you for, because when you said that, that struck a light with me. I'm like, yeah, he's definitely got it. Chef Rock is on it. That's what you create, that family bond. You bring him in, like, hey, you're a part of my family. This is what this is. Try this food. Let's talk. Let's have a good time. And let's have this understanding of, hey, this is the plight that I had to work to get to this stage in life. You can do the same thing as well, whatever your passion is, whatever you want to do. But you are part of my family, and I'm welcoming you into this.
Yeah, listen, my friend Priest to Nomad, who released the song My Way Home, he's been rapping for 30 years. And rap is an art, right? Hip hop, I can put words together just to match, right? I can't rap. You know what I mean? Like, ain't nobody by my single. I don't care how long. I can take a verse from Biggie for 20 plus years ago and study it for 5 years. I guarantee, as Denzel would say, I guarantee it's nobody's checking for my verse. There's an art. They're poets, right? They're music. There's an art to that. So and there's an art to, I believe, to hospitality, to get into your second point. So what is the art, right? At Queen Mother's, you can always come home is the tag. That's I believe that. I don't even say, it's not even a motto. You can always come home. So when you come into my shop, and this is what is in the culture, I'm behind the counter. See, we see one another differently. And this is what many cultures have. It's not just us, right? All cultures, I would dare to say. But they see and they hear different things. I had a brother come in the other day. He was the credit card machine wasn't working, and he was cussing. He was like, "Man, this god daggone thing won't work. I don't know why." And the lady that was working with me, she was all tense, and she was like, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry." So I said, "Bruh, I'm gonna get it right, and you're right. I apologize." I said, "Just like this, I apologize, man. I don't know what's going on with Wi-Fi, but you ain't gotta do all that cussing, bruh." My man looked at me. He said, "Yeah, you're right. My fault, brother. My fault." So here's the point. Maybe that was scary to her, and you know, it was profane. He was profane, but what I understood was that who's on the other. That's just the way he talked. There was language, there was a rhythm to the way he was talking. So that's just one example of, as someone in this business, hospitality is an art, and you have to sort of gauge everything and just see and know who to call what or try. We don't always get it right, but we want to treat everyone like they're always welcome. And that helps when this is a shout to my other Black restaurateurs or Black business owners. Don't shed your people out. You know, understand your people, know your people. Don't be quick to call your folks out on social media. We all different. So when, you know, we got to be able to talk to one another and make, like you said, make it feel like home when you come in. And I'm glad that you have that experience in Black businesses around the country.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Chef Rock Harper, the founder and the owner of Queen Mother's Restaurant right there in Arlington, Virginia. Check that out, folks. And Chef is a finalist. His restaurant is a finalist for the 2022 The Rammies. You could still continue to vote. Hey, Chef, I just placed my vote. I ain't even go to the restaurant. I just like you, Chef. So I'm going to just vote just because I like you.
You can do it every day. I appreciate that.
Hey,
thank you.
But the food looks fantastic. I got to come through and bring the family. And show our support. But folks, if you are in the Arlington, Virginia, DC area, and you're looking for a great place, a Black-owned business, a great place to get a great meal, make sure y'all check out Queen Mother's Restaurant right there in Arlington, Virginia. And my man Chef Rock Harris will host you. I mean, man, can we get like the culture discount?
Listen, 100%, bro. 100%.
In like typical Black people be like, yeah, support Black businesses. Can I get a discount?
I'll say go straight into the discount.
Be like, damn, man. I
That's part of the language. That's part of the language. That's how we do
prices already.
I got you. Holler me off air though. You know we got you on the phone.
No, man, I ain't paying no discount. No, it was just a joke. I don't want no discount. That money needs to go back to you, brother, and to your team and to the folks there, Queen Mothers, and making sure that we show you full support. So no discount. Don't ask that man for no discount or no damn sandwich. Like you don't ask it from McDonald's. You don't ask it from Arby's.
You could try. You don't ask it from Apple. You could try if you want.
You ask from Gucci.
Yeah. Right. You don't ask it for Gucci. Yeah. You walking up in there with Juke, walking up there with a Gucci belt, talking about, hey man, can I get a discount on this chicken sandwich? Yeah. No, Negro. No.
Whip him with a belt.
No, you can't.
They stop asking.
Take off the belt first. Then we talking.
Said pawn your belt, you can get 2 sandwiches.
What I can do is call you. I'm gonna call you sir and address you like the wonderful human being or ma'am that it is. I'm not gonna put you out and create all these ghost rules where I can't serve you like some of these other restaurants. I don't care if you got on leggings or whatever. I might not give you the discount, not you, I know, but when you come in with your hat to the back or your do-rag on and your flops, right? This is what I'm saying, how we have to see our people. You still a loving human being that is coming to my business, and I'm grateful for you. So I'm gonna treat you the same way.
Hey, look, Chef, look, real talk, you're doing an excellent job.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Excellent job. And we love and appreciate you, man. You're so good for the culture. Continue to do the great work. But again, congratulations on all of your success and just representing so well for us in the kitchen, brother. Black excellence personified, Chef Rock Harper. Chef, we got to bring you back on and talk about some other things happening in the kitchen. But I just wanted to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to my audience here on The Culture. And we'll certainly bring you back on, brother.
Man, love the network. Love what you're doing, brother. You got one of the hottest shows out. So thank you so much for having me on.
I appreciate that. Chef Rock Harper, folks. Make sure you also follow him on social media. And again, the restaurant is called Queen Mother's in Arlington, Virginia. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, Jules' favorite conversation, Kendrick Lamar, the professor, is about to drop an album. And guess what? We are all waiting for it. We are waiting for it. We'll have that conversation up next. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair. Take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on that.
Hey, Black, I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared. You dig?
All right, folks, this Friday, the long-awaited album of hip-hop impresario, Mr. Kendrick Lamar, will be dropping. His new album being called Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. This is an album that folks have been waiting on for literally for years. And internet and social media and hip-hop bloggers are all on pins and needles as to what is going to be displayed, what type of artistry is going to be shown on his album. But Kendrick Lamar is one of those artists who redefines the game every time he speaks. Every album, every song, it's just something that he adds to the culture. Well, once again, he has did it again. He released his new single, The Heart, Part 5, and he also released not just the song, but also a video. We want you to take a look at just give you a quick excerpt of this video and then have our culture crew to share their thoughts of what we can expect from Mr. Kendrick Lamar. Check this out.
I said I do this for my culture, to let y'all know what a nigga look like in a bulletproof Rover. In my mama's sofa was a doodle popper, hair trigger, walk up closer, ain't no photoshopping, friends bipolar.
Let's bring culture crew back into here. Jules P. B Fly. In this video, he morphs his face into a number of different people. O.J. Simpson, Nipsey Hussle, Kanye West. Who else am I missing here, folks?
Kobe Bryant.
Who else would be?
Will Smith, Kobe
Bryant, Jussie Smollett.
Say it again.
Jussie Smollett.
Oh, Jussie Smollett. That's right. He morphs into it, and it seems like the lines that he uses as he morphs into all these individuals, it speaks to that person. It speaks to that person. All right, Jules, you've been waiting, like you just been on bated breath. Like, yo, Jules told us, folks, offline. Jules said, when we get to the Kendrick Lamar segment, I got a lot to say. What do you got to say, Jules?
How much time I got? Because you know what? I'm about to give y'all a life lesson and breakdown. This is my strong suit. So how much? Listen. All right. So let me just go ahead and start off by saying one. I do watch a lot of battle rap, and after battle rap events, there's two different blog groups I watch. Champion with Jay Black and his crew, and then Vodafly and Showtime SP, and they do things called bar breakdowns. And they basically take what they heard and they break it down bar by bar in interpretation. And I advise anybody who is into battle rap community, go check out their channels. And that's what I'm gonna give you a little bit of Kendrick Lamar. So when I listen to music and hip hop culture, yes, I'm an artist. I feel like I love and adapt to all the times of what the music is trends are going to. And I love listening to what all these new artists, these young cats are bringing to the table. But then there is this sense of, I love that guy who doesn't care what your trend is currently. I'm going to do me. I'm going to let you hear what I got to say. You're going to love it. You're going to respect it. And that's what I feel like when I listen to Kendrick. So I made the joke even in the chat. I'm like, when Kendrick talks, it's like a professor. It's you taking a college course. When I sit down and listen to Kendrick, I can't just sit there with my headphones, listen to a song, and then go to the next song. I sit there and I play that same song over and over. I jot notes down. A couple of things that stood out to me about the song. So I heard the song. I heard the song first before I saw the video. So I mean, again, when I just hear Kendrick talk, it's just artwork. It's just fluid artwork. It's poetry. I mean, it's a poetic song. But then when I seen the video, it put what I heard into a visual that I did not think I was going to go. It took me to a whole nother direction, and that's the power of it. So I'm gonna give you a couple of little lines that I listened to, and I'm just gonna give you the transformation. So he first transforms into OJ. And he said, I do this for my culture to let y'all know what a nigga look like in a bulletproof Volvo. I equate that to OJ driving in the Bronco. I equate that to him masking up and then trying to be one foot in our community, but another whole foot in the other community. If y'all can catch the drift of in between what I'm trying to say about OJ. Mm-hmm. I mean, we all know about what his trials and tribulations are. I mean, he gave OJ a couple bars and then he went straight to the Kanye face. So Kanye's lines is, friends bipolar, grab you by your pockets, no oxygen if you froze up, always play the offense. Friends bipolar. What we think of Kanye? Bipolar. The line fits. It strikes right off the break. You don't have to guess. You don't have to pick and choose. Wait 2 or 3 lines for him to understand what point is getting at. It goes straight to friends bipolar. Then he's saying, grab you by your pockets. No options if you froze up. Always play the offense. Protect your pockets and keep on making money moves. That's what I just took from it. I mean, that's just my sense of what I heard from it. The Jussie Smollett. So the Jussie Smollett face, when he morphed into that face, the line that stuck out for me is, I want to represent from us. Well, I want to represent for us. When his quote unquote staging happened, that took a lot of turn between Black people and white people, because it was like a lot of Black people sat back and was like, we really don't believe this story, brother. Like, you're coming up with this whole thing, these two guys at the first we go on the subway, 3:00 in the morning, which that's weird. But then they're coming up in MAGA hats, they had nooses and things like that. It's like there's something about that story that just didn't seem real. Mm-hmm. And when you got caught, you wanted to feel the love, but you used both communities. You used the Black community and then used the LGBT community. And you were trying to get that representation of saying, hey, that's what I got from Kendrick's line. I want to represent us, because I felt like he tried to use every representation of what he is to get sympathy for a situation that you made up. The Will Smith line, plain and simple. The first line he says, in a land where hurt people hurt people. I wasn't on the show when that situation happened, but I had a lot of opinion about it. And I said, when he went up on that stage and he slapped Chris Rock, I do not feel like he was slapping Chris Rock. I feel like all the hurt and pain and trauma that Will Smith has been dealing with in his life was Chris Rock. And he took it out on a stage in front of millions to see about all the hurt that he was going through. That wasn't a Chris Rock personally beef thing, because people have been talking about Will Smith for years. People have been talking about Jada for years. I felt that was his personal trauma from childhood, because I know in his book, he talked about childhood trauma when he was going through things that he couldn't defend his father, defend his mother from his father's abuse. And he watched his sisters and brothers do it, but he was too scared to do it. I felt like that was all that trauma finally letting out of him and releasing on Chris Rock. So that's why when hurt people hurt people, that's exactly what I took from that line. Then he morphs into Kobe Bryant. Euphoria is glorified and made his, reflect on my life and what I've done. If you think about the story of Kobe Bryant, from high school, got to the NBA, first year, they were calling him airball, then the work and the craft that he put in, and then he created this Mamba mentality, which after his death, everybody in the NBA is following. You hear every player talk about that Mamba mentality, especially in the playoffs. You hear, I'm on that Mamba mentality. That's a mentality created by hard work and dedication. That's what was created by the Euphoria is glorified. This is the mark I left. My life was a Hall of Fame career, but the mark I'm leaving is a mindset. When you go on that court, whether you're going in as a basketball player, whether you're going for your doctorate degree, whether you're trying to be a lawyer, a nurse, whether you're working at Popeyes, Wendy's, whatever you do, have that Mamba mentality of, this is my job, I'm putting that work in, I'm going to be the best at what I do. And I think that was an excellent transformation. And then the final transformation, I think, was just God sent. Like this is where I think Kendrick Lamar lifted off. Like he went to another realm. This was no longer Kendrick Lamar just writing and being creative. He transformed into Nipsey. Nipsey and Dolph are possibly my two that I was late getting into. I mean, I got them when they were live, of course, but when I got into them, I flooded their music. Yeah. I got to see Nipsey live on his first and last tour. It literally was the tour that he was on. I got to see that tour, and a couple months later is when that fatal incident happened. And I felt like, learning about Nipsey's philosophies. I mean, because Nipsey was more than raps. He was a philosopher. And I felt like Kendrick was allowing Nipsey to take over his spirit in this last verse, and he took off. I'm going to give you a couple things. Like, I wanted to write the whole verse. Like, this is how much that verse impacted me, because I'm going to give you a couple lines, but it just like what he was saying, it just made you feel like I'm listening to Nip now. So he starts it off. He says, as I bleed through the speakers, feel my presence. To my brothers, to my kids, I'm in heaven. To my mother, to my sis, I'm in heaven. To my father, to my wife, I am serious. This is heaven. To my friends, make sure you counting them blessings. To my fans, make sure you making them investments. We all know that's what Nipsey's whole mind is about. Taking over. Look at the marathon club. He bought the whole block. I mean, it just different level. He went into a soliloquy talking about his killer. I mean, just basically giving you the mindset of what his killer was thinking when he shot Nipsey, and the forgiveness that he's trying to get. And then he finished off the song with a line that I think was two lines that I think were the most powerful things that I've heard in the song. He said, and I can't blame the hood the day that I was killed. Y'all had to see it. That's the only way to feel. I think that line right there, and this is just me personally. I'm not speaking on behalf of every hip hop head, every Kendrick fan. I'm speaking on behalf of me. It's like that line to me was real, because when you just hear about somebody getting killed, it's like, damn, we're so used in the Black community that happening. It's like, oh, it's just another day in the hood. When you see it,
yeah,
and people that know the backstory of the situation of how it transpired, because he was there and then he left and then he came back to shoot him, it just looked different when you see it, and you felt different. And I'm like, that line when he said, I can't blame the hood for the day I was killed, because he was in his hood. He was at his clothing store. He was in front of his shopping center. Right. He purchased and created jobs for the community. Right. So he can't blame the hood because he was giving back to the hood. But he said, y'all had to see it to understand. No, that's the only way to feel it. So instead of just hearing about it, seeing that power that was taken from that man as in the presence of life, in the present state, was taken away in that moment, in that aspect. And I just feel like that's Kendrick Lamar. Just like it was on a whole nother level. But like when he got to that third verse, that Nipsey, that when he morphed into Nipsey, I felt like that was actually Nipsey talking through him. I didn't think that was Kendrick Lamar, like, to be honest.
That's
because
crazy,
if you notice in the video, he had the Nipsey Hussle face on for the longest amount of time. The Will Smith, the Jussie Smollett, the
O.J. Simpson,
the Kanye faces were all like 2 bars, 3 bars. He gave you a whole verse of Nipsey. So I felt like that was another level of what I needed to tie into Kendrick Lamar's greatness, because I just felt like that was a different spirit inside of Kendrick. That was Nipsey. Like if Nipsey was alive, that's what he would be rapping about. You know what I'm saying? Like if Nipsey saw somebody get killed, that's the type of verse Nipsey would spit. And I felt like Nipsey just went straight through Kendrick on that verse and was like, I'm still here. I'm still in your presence. I'm giving you this fire.
Hey, first, Jules, you are a scholar. You are a scholar. You are a student of this, brother.
That's what I do,
You are a student of this. I love it. I absolutely love it. I love it. I love that. I love the how you, and this is why, B, let me just tell you, you man, this is why, B, when we talk, and before I go to B, this is why, folks, I want y'all to understand, like, how powerful this medium is when we talk about hip hop music, hip hop culture, how powerful it is, where it could take a young brother to start thinking critically, a young sister to start thinking critically, and to adults that are saying to themselves, like, why, be very careful how you respond to your son, your grandson, your daughter, your granddaughter, your niece, your nephew's hip-hop music. Don't be so quick to just call it garbage or trash. Talk to them about the music. Talk to them as to why they are attracted to the music, because for them, it's getting them to think deeper about who they are and their life and everything. I mean, that's the purpose of that's one of the big purposes of the music. And so, we wanted to, I just wanted to give you that time and that space, Jules, because I wanted to show people, look, man, like this is the power of the culture. This is the power of the culture. Like, we talk about all of the other things, but look at the themes, B, and we don't have a lot of time tonight to go into deeper. But I'm blown away that Jules, Jules is a smart brother anyway, but you know what I mean? For him to go and say, let me take this thing bar by bar and be able to
connect,
break it down and understand and to reflect on it and to do all of those things. B, this is the work that you do. This is the work that you do. That's why I love having y'all on this show, man, because this is exactly why people should understand that our culture is important. It is so important to the next generation. So important.
Extremely, extremely important. The video is so, I knew that there was something else. I felt like there was something else going on, right? So I had to research, like, who did this video. So now I'm understanding a little bit more about the production company behind it. Deep Voodoo, they are the production company behind South Park. And the deep fake treatment that they're using, I'm feeling like there's, when we break down the lyrics, we have a clear story. But when we utilize this method of deep fake with this production company that is rooted in satire, it makes me feel like there's a deeper commentary that he is connecting with these generations of Black men that have impacted our world and impacted how we see each other, from OJ to Kanye to Nipsey, to Will Smith, to Kendrick. You know, there's a very clear story there, you know. And when I think about my brothers, when I think about my husband, I also think about the levels of hiding and deep fake um, you have to be in the world in order to survive. And even in doing that, it does not guarantee your survival, you know. So it's like the oxymoron of the OJ being the savior of a community and a sports, but also the potential killer of a white woman and going down because of that, and Kanye and the defamation of the white woman that brought him down, and now we're considering him having mental illness because of his proximity to whiteness, you know. And so it's very interesting. And then to wrap it up with Nipsey, you know, and is real, and being assassinated like Malcolm in his community, you know, is real, and it goes to the culture of Compton and the culture of LA and wild west hip hop shit, and it's it's our life. Like, it is literally the life that we are in, and we need the Kendricks, you know, to tell these stories, and we need them to have these budgets to create these layers of the story that will get lost in just the word alone, you know. And that's the beauty of today, you know. We get to eat music, we get to see it in a way that we couldn't see it and experience it and taste it 20 years ago, you know. And so I'm appreciative of the crew and the director and the production company and Kendrick and what they were able to come up with together. That it's mind-blowing, you know. Like, let's get ready for the Grammys next year.
Yeah, how about that?
Amazing.
How about that? And as we wrap up this part of the conversation, The Guardian did a piece about it, and they said that the rapper's flow is as charged and acute as ever as he lays out a manifesto of radical empathy, because all of these black men have been highly criticized for how they live their life, right? Some are dead, like rest in power, Nipsey Hussle, but others who are alive, like OJ and Kanye and Will. But it's a black man showing radical empathy for another black man who has been ostracized and demonized in some way, shape, or form, right? And that's a space that is not uncommon to hip hop or foreign, but it is a space that you don't see hip hop go, because hip hop, unfortunately, we glorify the killing of one another. The street music and Kendrick's music is street music, but there's a humanity in it. You know what I mean? Like he's like, it's like watching Snowfall.
Mm-hmm.
You can say Snowfall is a drug show, or you can say Snowfall is like a cautionary tale,
right,
of what has happened to black communities.
Right. It's a critical response.
It's a critical response. Like, it's nothing. There's no. It's the redemption in his Kendrick music, or in the content of like Snowfall, is that we're able to look at it and hope that we don't get back to that place. You know what I'm saying? Which I think is one of the artist's roles, is to show us like where we currently are and where we can eventually go if we don't do A, B, and C, depending on the artist, right?
Right.
The artist shares his or her version of the context, the space that we're in, but then at the same time, they're like, but and some artists leave it. They just say, here's where we are, and they become the mirror, but they don't tell us what to do. They just show us who we are.
Right.
So I
Because at the
mean,
end of the
there's
day, we're one life moment away from turning our backs on Kendrick, the way we turn our backs on Jesse, the way we turn our backs on OJ,
that's all
the way
it
we
takes.
turn our backs. It takes
That's
one
all it
life
takes.
moment. You
It
know what
takes
I'm
one
saying?
question.
So,
It only takes one
right.
statement, one tweet. And I'm saying in 2022, hell, I'm one life moment from being canceled. You know, it's,
one moment.
you know, it just takes one
and
moment. All you got to do is hear me say something. And I know some people wanted to cancel me after COVID. They were like, man, man, for real, Farajii, I don't care if you got a show. I don't give a damn if you black. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't agree with you on COVID. Therefore, you canceled in my book. And, you know, that's how we treat people. That's
a mess, you know?
And that's how we have looked at people because of a variety of reasons. There's just a lot of factors. But I'm so happy that we were able at least to have the starting point in this conversation. And I know that when Friday drops, I'm going to hit Jules up. B, I'm going to hit you up. And be like, all right, y'all got to Kendrick. Let's you know what I'm saying? Because we know we can revisit it on Monday of next week, God willing, and be able to kind of break it down a little bit. But this is what, and I think, B, to your point, this is what is needed. I was at a function earlier today with my wife doing some work, and I was having a conversation with a brother. And a lot of times, you know, when you have high school students in a space, they want to play, you know, I mean, I get it. They want to play like DaBaby and all of those type of artists, trap artists and all of those things. But then it dawned on me, and I always knew this, but it really dawned on me. This is the future. So if we're putting certain seeds of misogyny or disrespect, or, you know, certain seeds where we don't value life. And I'm not saying that these artists are the worst human beings, but at some point we do need to say enough is enough. Because those young brothers and sisters deserve to live. Those high school students deserve to live. When you talk to a high school student, whether you got a son or daughter, niece or nephew, grandson or granddaughter, brother or sister, or somebody that's in your neighborhood or at the job or whatever, when you come across a black high school student today, you see that they are seeking something. And they go to the music, Jules. They gravitate to the music. They gravitate to the streets, but they are seeking something. And these aren't bad people. These aren't bad children.
Right.
They just in effed up situations in some cases, right? Dysfunctional homes, but they aren't inherently, fundamentally, naturally evil.
Right.
But we can create that if we put seeds in them, if we kind of push the certain messaging. And when I was listening to the music, I was like, damn, they learning about mental health, B. They learning about, putting yourself in your best space. But then they wanted to keep the situation festive. So they play in all of this type of music. And it's hard to think of
destroying the mental health.
It's hard to talk about mental health if you got certain messages coming into your eardrums blasting, because we were at like a skating rink. And you're not putting out positive message. You talking about twerking. You talking about all that other stuff, grown stuff.
Right.
But this is a part of the problem with the hiring process.
Say it again.
This is a part of the problem with the hiring process. Like when you talk about mental health and when you don't have the acumen to even understand the vibrational energy of music, and then you're dealing with kids. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a disconnect within that system, because at the end of the day, the system does not even know how to raise its own vibration. It's eating the food.
And this is for black folks. This is all black. Ain't no white people up in this piece. It's all black, right. Black children, black, you know what I'm saying? And that's just the culture. You know what I mean? I've gone to birthday parties for children like under 10 years old, and they playing like some grown hip hop music. And it's, you know what I'm saying? And now we can go back and forth and say, oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. But we got to understand, like, if we want heroes, if we want leaders of Black people, it starts when they were babies, man. Like that stuff don't start when you're 15, 25, 50 years old. Like it has happened that way for some of our great ones. But guess what? It starts when you babies. If you want to change the condition of a people, then teach the babies how to think differently.
Right.
That's why all of your great Black leaders, they didn't focus on the old people. Marcus Garvey, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and many others have understood the science of creating a generation of thoughtful, critical thinkers and leaders. They said, we're going to open up our own school. We're going to teach the babies how to think differently from what the system teaches us. I mean, they did this on purpose, in real life, intentionally. And we got to be the same way. If you want to save Black people, then you have to save Black youth.
Facts.
That's the answer.
This is true.
All right, but this is such a, I mean, we're going to continue to listen to it. We're going to continue to rock out to it. But I just wanted to, I'm glad that we at least got the conversation started, because people look at hip hop music, B and Jules, and they see it and they think of it's like the devil's music. They think it's like rock and roll played backwards or some shit. I don't know. I don't know. But this is our music. This is our culture. This is our music. We can change it, but I thank God for Kendrick and what he brings to the table. I thank God for J. Cole. A couple of our people are saying they think, you know, from Public Enemy to anybody else that is adding to the culture. This thing right here and this thing right here, y'all both know, are the only things. That's the real gift. The mind, the heart, the spirit. That's the gift right there. All right, Jules P, B Fly, thank you so much for joining us, and of course being so good for the culture. I truly love and appreciate y'all so much. Y'all have made Mondays so great for me. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
I love you too, Farajii. This is great.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. We're sorry we went a little bit over time, but it's all good, man. This is one of the things I love about the show. We're going to continue to do our best to look at things that are happening within our culture, but more importantly, we want to make sure that this show is a platform for you to get that real news, that real information, something that you can walk away feeling empowered. And that's why we actually each and every day, folks, support blackstarnetwork.com. Go into our website and take a look at it. Support us financially, support us through your shares and your likes, but just be there to support us. Be there to support us, because that's exactly what we need right now. We need your support. And so if you enjoyed the conversations that we've had with Dr. Horn or with Chef Rock Harper, please go on to blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app, download it on your phones or in your devices. I see some people, Shalinda, thank you so much for encouraging people to download it. So many of you have been encouraging people. Hey, how many places are you watching the culture? Damon Blissett, thank you so much, brother, for watching us on, watching us and watching RMU on 2 devices. I mean, so many of you have been checking in and saying, look, I'm watching it on this device. I'm watching it on that device. That's exactly what we need to keep this thing going. So blackstarnetwork.com. All right, folks, my time has been very well spent. I thank my team, Joel. I thank my team, Shannon, and of course, Keenan, for making us sound and look so good. Make sure y'all stay tuned at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Is Roland Martin Unfiltered, where my big brother always breaks it down, his deconstructions and everything that's happening. So make sure y'all stay tuned for that. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong, stand for what's right, while being yourself in the process. And God willing, tomorrow we'll be checking in with Dr. Williams from the Third Good Marshall College Fund to give us some latest information about a big initiative that HBCUs are doing. So we'll have that conversation tomorrow. As always, thank you so much for checking in. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Peace.